Dietary supplement labels. According to federal law, every dietary supplement container must be properly labeled to include the term dietary supplement or a similar term that describes the product's particular ingredients, such as herbal supplement or vitamin C supplement. They're also required to display a list of ingredients, the manufacturer's address, and the suggested dosage. So if something says you take two, you take two. You don't try and take more than that. The label must include facts about the product's contents in a special format, which is called the Supplement Facts Panel. The panel provides information about the serving size, the amount per serving, and the percent daily value for the ingredients, if one has been established. If it hasn't, the panel provides information about serving size, amount per serving, and the percent daily value for ingredients, if one has been established, although non-nutrient products won't. They haven't. So this is our example. If you look, it says dietary supplement. It's got 100 tablets. So literally, the fact that this is here identifies it as this is a dietary supplement. On the back panel, you've got the manufacturer's name and address. When the product is a mixture of substances and components, then you're going to have an ingredients list: fructose, lactose, starch, stearic acid. I think that's what that says. Even with my glasses, my eyes are old. The information must be listed per serving. Serving sizes are based on the manufacturer's recommendations, intake for one occasion. So here, serving size is 1 tablet. So that probably means 1 tablet a day, okay? Title makes it easy to identify. This is the Supplement Facts Panel, and it's the biggest print that there is on the back of this, so you can't mistake it for anything else. Now, here are my daily values. Nutrients required in nutrition labeling of conventional foods and their percent daily values must be listed. So I've got the calories, I've got the total carbohydrates as 2 grams, that's less than 1%. Dietary ingredients such as botanicals and phytochemicals that do not have daily values are listed here. Such ingredients must indicate the amount present and be identified as having recommendations. So you see how this is just across? That means that I don't have the daily value. Now, structure function claims. German chamomile and hyssop support a healthy immune system. Notice I didn't say cure-all supports a healthy immune system. I said these two things do. So if you look, I've got German chamomile, and hyssop leaves. Those are a proprietary blend. In other words, they're not going to tell you how much it is, or maybe even the species that they're using, but they're there. And then German chamomile and hyssop with their structure and function claim. And then here at the bottom is the FDA disclaimer. This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. The product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. That covers them if anybody ever says, but I thought this would help my immune system. Well, I have said here that it hasn't been evaluated by anybody important. So, according to the FDA, dietary supplements are not intended to treat, diagnose, cure, or alleviate the effects of a disease. So, manufacturers can't market a supplement as a treatment for a cure of a disease or to relieve signs and symptoms of any disease. Although generally they can't prevent diseases, it might improve health or reduce the risk of diseases or conditions, which is why the FDA allows manufacturers to display structure function claims on the labels. It's not going to cure cancer, but it may help to alleviate the symptoms of something. So, for example, iron is necessary for healthy red blood cell formation. Well, this is factual. In order for us to make our red blood cells, we have to have iron. If your product has iron in it, I would probably put that on the label so that you would kind of tell people, hey, there's iron in this, and we know that this is factual. Iron is necessary for healthy red blood cell formation. If the FDA has not reviewed a claim, the label must include the FDA disclaimer indicating that the claim has not been evaluated by the FDA. Again, there's that same disclaimer right here. While they can make these labeling claims without evidence to the FDA, they do have to inform the FDA within 30 days of introducing the product that they've made that claim for. If the FDA questions the safety or truthfulness of the claim, the manufacturer is responsible for providing evidence that their product is safe and that the claims are honest. If for some reason the FDA goes, wait a minute, you're putting dirt in pills and saying that it's gonna, it's got high iron content, they're gonna go, no, you got to provide more than that. The FDA does regulate. It's just not as stringent as you would find with the with medications that you would find at a pharmacy. I'll put it that way. Okay, so organic food. Take another drink. 3.6, organic food. We're going to explain the differences between the production of organic and the production of conventional foods, and we're going to discuss the USDA's 3 labeling categories for organic foods. Foods produced without the use of antibiotics, hormones, synthetic fertilizers, and most synthetic pesticides, genetic improvements, or spoilage-killing radiation. These are what are considered organic. Now, if we're talking about the word organic, in chemistry, organic is a substance that has the element carbon bonded to hydrogen in the chemical structure. That's all it means. When we're talking about nutrition, though, usually we're talking, when we say organic, certain agricultural methods that have been used to produce that food to basically promote sustainability of our farming environment. Organic farming is the production of organic foods. It doesn't rely on the use of antibiotics or hormones or synthetic fertilizers, and it also avoids most synthetic pesticides. It also avoids genetic improvements and the ionizing radiation that they use to basically sterilize the surface of the fruits and vegetables. People who purchase organically grown food think the products are better for their health and more nutritious than our conventional counterparts. But really and truly, scientific studies haven't shown that it's more nutritious. That doesn't really hold water. It's not scientifically proven. What we do know and what we have been able to prove is with organic versus the counterpart, the regular counterpart, there are less pesticides. So it does contain fewer pesticides. But as far as the health benefit of eating a tomato, it's the same on both sides. More research is actually needed to definitively determine whether there are health advantages to eating organic foods. So if we're comparing being an organic farm to being a conventional farm, you have kind of rules that you have to follow. So synthetic fertilizers aren't allowed in organic farms. Non-organic, there are limited restrictions on fertilizers, so you can pretty much use what you want to. Organic, sewage and sludge products are not allowed. Non-organic, sludge products may be used on some fields, not all of them. Organic, restrictions on the use of raw manure on fields used for food crops. Raw manure can contain E. coli, so it's definitely a concern. With non-organic, though, there are few restrictions on raw manure use on edible crop fields. This is one of the reasons why we wash our vegetables before we eat them. For organic, most synthetic pesticides are not allowed. Natural pest management practices are encouraged. For non-organic, Any government-approved pesticide may be used according to the label instructions. Natural pest management practices, though, may also be used. It's kind of a personal choice thing. Organic. Genetically modified organisms, GMOs, are not allowed, whereas non-organic, if it's government approved, you can use GMOs. Organic feeding livestock, mammal and poultry byproducts, and manure is not allowed, whereas with non-organic, certain mammal and poultry byproducts are allowed in livestock feed. So most of our livestock are going to be herbivores. They don't eat meat. So giving them these mammal and poultry byproducts isn't necessarily the healthiest. They do it because they want to build muscle and they want them to have extra protein, but at the same time, it's not really what their, I guess, normal diet would be. Organic use of growth hormones and antibiotics in livestock production is not allowed, whereas in non-organic, government-approved hormone and antibiotic treatments are permitted. To be honest, antibiotic treatments, if they're used in the right way, they're very beneficial because it prevents disease in your herd or your flock of birds or whatever. Organic food irrigation, a food safety method, is not allowed. Non-organic food, irrigation. I was like, what? Okay. Food irradiation, which basically means that you are irradiating the surface of the food to kill anything that could potentially be on the surface. In organic, you're not allowed to do that. In non-organic, you are. It's kind of a quicker, easier method of cleaning the outside of a fruit or a vegetable. With organic, you have detailed record keeping and site inspections by regulators that are going to be required. They come in and they check constantly because you're supposed to be following all these rules. In non-organic, some records are required, but there are no real on-site checks by regulators that are necessary. So you can see organic is actually kind of a lot more work, push comes to shove. But the goal is to have more sustainable farms and to have cleaner products, basically. To protect customers, the USDA developed and implemented strict national production standards for organic products that must be followed to use the organic label. In other words, I can't just say that my product is organic and put a sticker on it and say it's organic. I actually have to meet criteria. So if I have something that says 100% organic on it, and I can use the USDA organic seal, 100% certified organic ingredients, and you have to identify the organic ingredients. You're not going to say it's 100% organic and it's not. If it just has the organic label, you may use the USDA organic seal. And when we say organic in this way, it contains at least 95% certified organic ingredients. The remaining 5 are on the USDA's list of allowed ingredients. And again, I have to identify those organic ingredients. Made with organic ingredients, made with organic carrots, made with organic tomato, okay? I can't use the USDA seal in this case. It has to contain 70 to 95% certified organic ingredients. And again, I have to identify what those ingredients are. So ultimately, if I'm going to use that USDA seal, I'm going to be 95% or more organic ingredients in whatever that product is. 3.7, using dietary analysis software. Explain why different dietary analysis software programs may provide different values for energy and nutrient contents for the same food item, and use the U.S. Department of Agriculture's websites to estimate the nutritional value of various foods. So, dietary analysis software and websites are quick and easy tools to determine energy and nutrient contents in very commonly eaten food. When you do your food journal, these are kind of the easiest way to do it. MyFitnessPal is an app for your phone that has a mass amount of available dietary calorie counting, a mass amount of calorie count. Blah, blah. I know what I mean. It's just not coming out. MyFitnessPal can be used to determine the calories in the food that you're consuming. There we go. All right. So it's usually based on average results, since the same type of plant food may vary in nutrient content due to hereditary factors, age, growing conditions, and production methods. So there may be differences, but those differences, like I said, it may be due to what fruit you're using, what ingredient you're using, where did it come from, where was it grown. The government-sponsored dietary analysis websites, you've got the USDA What's in the Food You Eat search tool, and Food Data Central, which is right down here. And again, you can put in the name of the food and it'll give you the information. Now, 3.8, Learning Outcomes, Nutrition Matters, Traditional Diets. So we're going to discuss the traditional diet of certain cultures and ethnic groups living in the United States and identify religion-based dietary restrictions. So within the United States, most individuals' primary food selection and their cooking habits reflect your cultural and ethnic heritage. You eat what you've grown up eating, basically. But in the United States, we have kind of a melting pot of cultures, which means that we actually have the ability to enjoy foods from other cultures and ethnic groups fairly regularly. Unfortunately, one of the issues that we have with this is that a lot of the restaurants that prepare these meals are not traditionally preparing them, so they're not made the same way, which means a lot of times there are going to be added sugars and added oil and fats and things that you may not find in a traditionally prepared meal from a home. Traditional ethnic diets contain small amounts of animal foods and larger amounts of plant foods, including locally grown roots, the root vegetables, and whole grains. Scientific research shows that our eating patterns are rich in plant foods and are associated with a lower incidence of chronic disease. Interestingly, when immigrants come to the United States, they will eat what they're used to eating outside of the United States and prepare it the way that they normally would. But as they really start to integrate into society, they start using the methods that the United States uses. And when they start eating like the people in the United States, it is very common to see the development of chronic diseases like cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure. Before they got here and they were using their traditional, methods for cooking, it wasn't as prevalent as it happens to be once they start living in the United States. So, if we're talking about the Northwestern European diet, who are we talking about? The United Kingdom, Scandinavia, Germany. Traditionally, we're talking about kind of a meat and potatoes diet. It's kind of similar to the mainstream American diet that is kind of known as the Western diet. So you've got your meat and your breads, kind of the biggest part of the pyramid at the base, your vegetables kind of in the middle, and your fruits, and then nuts and stuff like that up at the top. Now, the Latin American diet is going to include Hispanic or Latino people, Spanish ancestry. Traditionally, we're talking about corn, beans, chili peppers, avocado, papaya, pineapple, whole grain tortillas, quinoa, rice, fish, shellfish, poultry, meats, and various spices. Latin Americans, Latin people just in general tend to use a lot of spices. But kind of the base of that is going to be corn, beans, rice. All right. Italian, as in from Italy. Pasta and other grain products, olive oil, fish, nuts, fruits, and vegetables. Notice that it doesn't say beef. Notice that it doesn't say chicken, fish. Because they kind of are by the sea, they tend to use a lot of seafood in their meals. The Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean countries we're talking about are going to include Greece, southern Italy, and the island of Crete. Traditionally, we've got whole grains, a bunch of fruits, and again, if you look at the base of this pyramid, we've got our bread, grains, and then a whole bunch of fruits and vegetables here. Beans, potatoes, seafood. So notice that the biggest meat or the biggest portion of our pyramid meat-wise is going to be seafood. We do have chicken and beef, but they make up a smaller portion of that pyramid. So we've got poultry, we've got olive oil, and we've got wine. Yeah, wine is actually part of their pyramid. And drink, of course, drink water. But again, if you look here at the base of the pyramid, that physically active lifestyle is still included as part of their pyramid. African heritage diet. So this is going to include leafy green vegetables, kale, collard greens, mustard greens, chard, dandelion, beans, black-eyed peas, peanuts, flatbread, whole grain, millet, sorghum, kawano, which is a horned fruit, plantains, which is a specific type of banana, okra, tuber vegetables. So tubers are going to be your potatoes, your yams. And you still have that physical activity at the bottom, but greens are the biggest part of their pyramid down here. You've got the tubers, whole grains, vegetables, beans, peas, fruits. Notice meat is way up here, okay? Herbs, spices, traditional sauces. But as we come up is where you've got the eggs, poultry, and other meats, and the seafood, moderate portions of dairy, and occasionally you've got sweets, and of course, drink water. The Asian diet. This is going to include Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, Thai, Korean cuisines. Traditionally, Asian diets have a large amount of vegetables in their diet, as well as rice or noodles. You've got small amounts of meat, small amounts of fish, small amounts of shellfish, but it's not the main ingredient. So when you look over here, the biggest part of this pyramid is going to be vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds. It's not going to be the meat. And again, activities, social connections. You've got seafood as well before you have anything else. Eggs, poultry, healthy cooking oils is in here, yogurt. And the smallest part of this pyramid includes meat and sweets. And then they drink a lot of water, they drink a lot of tea. Again, traditionally. The Native American diet. Now, for the Native American diet, you're going to have wild vegetation, berries, fish, game, vegetable crops such as tomatoes, corn, green leafy vegetables, beans, and squash. Ultimately, the Native Americans, back in the day, they grew their own crops. So corn was something that they had, squash was something that they had. And again, if you look at the pyramid, we've got vegetables, we've got fruits, we've got grains, we've got milk, no fat dairy products, yogurt, milk, cheese. We've got meat. And if you'll notice, we have deer in here and fish. So it's not just it's not just, beef, chicken, fish. We've got rabbit as well. We've got the beans, nuts, peanut butter, even acorns. And of course, at the very top, sparingly, you use fats, oils, and sweets. Now, when it comes to religious influences, many religions require members to follow strict food handling and dietary practices that often include the prohibition of certain foods and beverages and may include other food related practices like fasting. So I've had friends who have been, a spectrum of religions, and I know that I had a friend who was an Orthodox Jewish woman, and the way that they had to make their food was separate. She basically had two kitchens. She had one where you would fix the meat and the meat products, and then one for the vegetables, fruits, and everything else. But you never cross those things together. You had your own sets of pots and pans for the vegetables and the fruits. You had your own set of pots and pans for the meat products. And it was a religious kind of condition for that religion. When it comes to foods for those religions as well, you have to have things that are kosher, meaning that they are prepared and handled in a very specific way. You've got fasting traditions for certain religions. I had a friend who was Muslim, and there's a certain time of the year that now I can't remember, of course, that she, from sun up to sundown, didn't eat anything because in that time frame, they were supposed to be fasting. So it changes their diet. It does influence their diet when those types of things happen. If you're Hindu, you don't eat cow because cows are sacred. So beef is not part of their diet. If you're Mormon, then you don't drink any type of alcohol ever. So again, when it comes to religion, it can affect how your diet is, I guess, done. So, if you're a Buddhist, meat is avoided, vegetarianism is encouraged. If you're Eastern Orthodox, meat and fish have restrictions, fasting and specific food abstinence during certain holidays. If you're Hindu, beef is forbidden, but dairy products are pure for consumption, so again, prepared in a very specific way. Pork may be restricted, alcohol is completely avoided, fasting is often encouraged. If you are Islam, okay, if that is your religion, you're in the religion of Islam. Pork, birds of prey, reptiles, insects, except locusts. Most gelatins and alcohol-containing beverages are prohibited. Now, most gelatins are made from animal hooves, so that's probably why it's avoided. Also, with Islam, ritual killing of animals that are permitted as food called halal. Fasting from all food and drink in the daytime, during the month of Ramadan, and certain other religious holidays. There we go. Jewish. Only kosher only kosher foods are acceptable. Again, this has to do with how they are prepared. Treif refers to prohibited foods. Pork and shellfish are prohibited. Eating meat with dairy is also prohibited. Consuming blood is forbidden. Raw meat is soaked in cold water to remove the blood. It's salted for an hour and then rinsed, basically trying to get as much blood out as possible. Eggs, fruits, and vegetables can be eaten with either meat or dairy foods. Eggs, however, are inspected to make sure they do not contain blood specks. In other words, they don't want it to be a viable egg. Only fish with fins and scales can be eaten. Only land animals that have split hooves and chew their cud can be eaten. And only the front half of a cud chewing animal is used. It's about cleanliness. So they can use basically from the waist up, but not from the waist down. Ritual killing of certain animals is required, and fasting and specific food restrictions for certain holidays. If you're Mormon, alcohol, coffee, and tea are avoided. Fasting is practiced regularly. Now, the Mormons that I have known, no alcohol, period. Roman Catholic, fasting before communion, fasting and specific food abstinence during certain holidays. 7-day Adventist, animal product consumption generally is limited to milk, milk products, and eggs. Lacto-ovo vegetarianism, I guess. And alcohol and beverages containing stimulants are prohibited. So again, you can see how religiously it affects what they are able to eat, what they're allowed to eat. So it affects their diet. And that is the end of chapter 3.